Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 53. Today, we will do a couple important things to keep us moving forward. The first one is that we will start producing the vehicles for our new construction yard. Since we have the same road CO setup that we have in Adamski, it will be a simple copy-paste job. The second thing on the agenda will be the rail tracks surrounding the new city. We need to sort out how trains will enter and leave the area, so we will do just that. I have a feeling that it will be an incomplete job, but the broad idea of how things will work will be laid down today. And lastly, we will finally get around to planning out that chemical facility we've been trying to get to for the last couple episodes. It will be a bit of a mess, but I'm hoping it will work in the long run. By the way, I was really hoping that the water and sewage update would be released to the stable branch on Steam by the time I had to record the episode, but that didn't turn out to be the case. Well, 3 Division did say that it will be released this week, so there is a distinct possibility that it will be out by the time this episode goes live. Hopefully, we can start playing with the new systems in Monday's episode. So, as I've said, let's start by ordering the vehicles for Bobinski. For now, I will only deal with the road machinery. I will worry about the helicopter COs later. And look, those fuel carriers are off. It seems that small piece of road got built in the meantime. So, as I've said, it will be a simple copy-paste job. We will basically clone the vehicle roster from one construction yard to the other. We will need 4 bulldozers, and 4 pavers. We haven't bought the blueprints for the tower cranes yet, and the same goes for the pavement rollers. So, after buying the plants for those, 4 of each were added to the queue. Next up were the open hull trucks. For the first CO, we need 12. As for the excavators, I believe we do have some newer models available in the Western market, and since we have the money for them at this point, we can start making those instead. And that's 1 CO done. We will need 8 concrete mixers, which we need to buy the plans for. Then we have 4 covered hull trucks, which will turn out to be 8 by the end. Let's not forget about the dumpers, of which we need 8. I might change this in the next episode. I think we should build 12 dumpers, and only 4 covered hull trucks. I better make a note of it. As for the extra open hull vehicles, I will order 8 extra big ones. And let's not forget to use those in the first CO. Those extra heavy bulldozers will need these guys to be moved around. The Kamaz trucks are too weak for that. And that should do it for the 2 big construction offices in Bobinski. As I've said, I will change those orders a little bit in the next episode, so we have more dumpers, and fewer covered hulls in the production queue. You will notice that I will often check on the progress of the rail tracks around Bobinski. That's because they are out of range for the rail CO, so they need to be supervised regularly. We will need to build a second office in the new city, that's for sure. With that out of the way, let's turn our attention to the rail tracks around the new city. Between now and the last episode, I've decided to allow trains to leave at both the cross-country rails and towards Bobinski, and for that, we should rethink how the exit tracks are laid out. Instead of going all the way to the south to hug the mountainside, we will instead go west immediately after the tracks come out from under the airport bridge. This will bring the tracks closer to the city, but having them cut through the outskirts should give the place some character. Whoa, what is even that? I did not expect that kind of a turn to appear. Let's do it properly. That's better. Since those tracks are the exit, we only need to hook them up to the leaving lanes of the main line. One side will go this way, the other side will go that way. And yes, I did just hook them up to the wrong side of the main line. I will soon realize this and fix it. As for the entrance to the city, we have more room on the other side of the tracks, so we should build an overpass, so the trains can go over the main line without disrupting traffic. I guess that pretty much decided that we won't be making the river bridge taller in the future. If we ever decide to use ships, we just need to hope that they can fit under it. The pillars are interfering, we need to use the other bridge model. I will do the same for the entrance. One side of the main line will use one of the incoming lanes for the station, the other side will use the second lane. It's a bit of a big junction, but the main traffic will just roll through most of the time, and those should let each other pass simultaneously anyways. And this is where I finally realized that I hooked these tracks up to the wrong side of the main line. Let's try again. So, this is the exit, so we need them to connect to the leaving side of the tracks. Now do the entrance. There we go. Everything's going where they should. That slope next to those tracks is messing with my mojo, let's fix it. Adding these two signals should allow the track layers to come in closer to the place they need to work on. Okay, let's take a look at how trains will connect up to the leaving side of the town rails. Here, we need to connect up a two-way double-track setup to a one-way double-track one. Should be pretty straightforward. The trains will come in from the left, so if they want to go towards Babinski, they will need to hook up to the side that goes away from the city. And if they come in from the top of the screen, then the only way they can enter these tracks is if they go to the right. Now, we only need to make this place look presentable. It will turn out to be harder than anticipated. Not perfect, but at this point, I was willing to live with it. Now, let's deal with these two. I think hooking them into the middle of the junction, and just adding a simple station crossing will do the trick. And this is why I feel that we need to work on this junction a little more in the next episode. Maybe make the entrance and exit turns a bit wider, and we will most definitely need to add some kind of turnaround. Yeah, this place will need some extra love. It seems we have a rogue conveyor tower the helicopters couldn't reach. Adding a footpath connection will allow road vehicles to build it. Since the third fuel distributor is ready to go, let's set them up properly. The same we did in Kirkomov, we will daisy chain them together, so they will supply each other with fuel. And speaking of fuel, let's add the same setup to Bobinsky. The storage tank will fit nicely into this hole left by the train tracks. Let's go for all three distributors straight away, instead of waiting to build them as the need arises. They are just a tiny bit misaligned, but at least they are offset in the same direction and by the same amount, so I'm not all that bothered about this tiny imperfection. Oh, right, we should fix that dip in the airport taxiway. Let's just make all of it nice and level. Much better. Let's do the same for the other side, so they match. A nice smooth taxiway for our planes. Perfect. Let's connect up the airport road gate to the network. We cannot build the taxiways without it. Only one branch left from the Babinski tracks. It's a real chore having to check on this place because the rail CO is too far away for automatic assignments. We will definitely need to build a second one in the new city. And we are already started production on the tower cranes. I doubt all the vehicles will be done by the time Babinski is complete, but it is progressing nicely. Alright, let's start looking for a place to build that chemical facility. This place next to Alexandergrad looked promising, but ultimately decided against it. We will need quite a bit of room for the farm fields, so we need a bigger area to work in. This one was perfect. I was thinking about building the new city here first, but I deemed it too small for that. But for the chemicals, it should be plenty. Might as well go for a double setup straight away. We have 4 materials to sort out, and the first one will be the crude oil. Okay, that's the storage tank and the drop-off station done. Let's deal with the gravel next. A small storage will do fine. We need to use conveyor towers anyway. Since we have 2 production buildings, we need to split the belts in 2. It's a bit cramped, so taking care of everything will take a bit of gymnastics. Especially at this part. Routing the conveyors over that tightly packed mess of roads will take a bit of effort. There were moments where a connection would have been possible, But then the room was too small for the tower itself. There was simply no spot where both requirements could be met. So we had to go a bit zigzaggy, but we got there in the end. Whether or not we can build it, that's going to be a whole other matter, which we can only see once the roads are done. Those 2 towers are of course unreachable by helicopters. We can only hope that the road vehicles will be able to deal with them. Anyways, once we place down the aggregate drop-off station, that will be the oil and gravel sorted. Let's place the oil tracks now, so we know how to deal with the conveyor belt. Yep, we need a tower, as expected. Since we added quite a few extra junctions on the new cross-country rail line, the track layers cannot work on them in parallel, and now they are blocking traffic going towards Ramesov. Adding a couple more signals will fix that. There, everything's moving again. Let's do the wood supply next. Just like in Electrograd, there is no need for an outside storage. We can just add a wood cutting station to each chemical plant, and they will take care of that material. Another instance where building mirroring comes in handy. The last thing is the crops. I don't know why I thought this would work. Apart from the lack of room, placing the silo here would have resulted in the factory connection crossing the road. Not ideal. Placing 2 on each side of the road here will be fine, however. We only need to move the roads for the woodcutters, and it's all good. Now we just need to add the agro farm, so the fields can be worked. And let's not forget to add the distribution office, which will collect and store the crops after each harvest. That should be it for the main buildings. Let's connect things up to the road network. Good thing we have this valley here. Next, we can start thinking about how the trains will pick up the finished chemicals. I think the tried and tested warehouse method will do just fine. It served us very well in Electrograd. To make it work, I think it would be best if we move the other tracks a bit further out, so we have some room to work with. And that will make it necessary to move the gravel conveyor. No big deal, that's why we are planning things. There we go, plenty of room for a warehouse. Let's add the conveyor back in, and do the same for the other chemical plant. As expected, the helicopters made short work of the bigger paving jobs, but the smaller ones will have to be dealt with by road vehicles. There are a couple segments that make some big parts of the construction yard unreachable, but they are relatively small, so they will be done quickly. Let's finish building that last rail segment in Babinski, so we can at long last start electrifying them. Oh, yeah, we also need a construction crossing, so both sides of the new branch can be reached. I will place down the passenger station now, but I am 100% sure it will have to be moved. The reason why I'm sure we will need to have it in some other place is that it cannot reach everything important from down there. While I am reasonably confident that these footpaths will be able to deal with the chemical plants themselves, the wood cutting stations are another matter. So, we will most likely need to move the passenger drop-off closer to the entrance to the industrial park. I don't know why Sunflower appeared with a question mark icon in the Rail CO. It's working perfectly fine. Once that segment next to the helipad is done, it will open up a lot of new ground we can assign to the road-based construction machines. Speaking of, the car factory is now hard at work producing the open-hull trucks. Things are progressing nicely. While it won't be relevant for a couple episodes more, we might as well start moving the fuel over to the bauxite mines. Unemployment is still a bit of an issue in Mikhailovia. While the last piece of track is being built, we can sort out the space allocations for the different storage facilities around here. Alright, the rail tracks are done. Time to electrify them. Once Nightingale is out of the area, we can start designating them. We can start with those two far side tracks on the junction. They are out of reach anyways, so they won't be auto-assigned. Let's make sure we only upgrade the track segments that we need to upgrade. The one going towards the new city is not ready yet. We might as well add a couple signals here and there, so the track layers can work a bit in parallel. Doing it did disrupt the work of Sunflower, but that's okay, they are super fast at placing down the catenaries. It seems I accidentally upgraded the construction crossing. Oh well, we can deal with it in the next episode. Speaking of the next episode, let's start spitballing, and see what we can come up with. One of the obvious things we can do is finishing up Bobinski. The roads should be done fairly soon, and since we are already working on the open hull trucks, we can use those to move the machinery over to their new homes. Well, most of them will be able to move on their own, but things like the crane towers will need to be loaded onto those trucks, and moved manually. We can also fine-tune the rail tracks around the new town. I think we can do better than the current setup. And let's not forget about the new chemical facilities. There are things we need to deal with there as well, like moving the passenger station closer to the woodcutters. But what I am most hopeful for is the water update. If the developers do manage to release it this week, then it will keep us busy for at least 2 episodes, maybe more. It will most likely be the same I did with the crime system. Enable it while the game is paused, build a couple things, disable the system, let things build, and so on. I only spent about 2 hours messing around with those systems on my downtime, so I'm going to jump into it a bit blind. I mean, I do know the basics, but I have no idea how and where to start, so it will be an interesting time. Anyways, I hope you liked the video. If you did, you can support me on Ko-fi, for which you can find a link in the description. If you are not the donating type, that is fine too. You can still support me by leaving a like, or subscribing to the channel, which just might motivate me to make more. Until then, see you later.